Whittaker Weekly is a 3-episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades-old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't. I'm Andrew.
I'm Lee.
And this is Whittaker Weekly. Let's get right into it.
All right, not a whole lot to talk about in the news. We had a huge slew of news last week, but this week, pretty slow.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and get right into our 3 episodes in.
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk about the AMA real fast.
Ah, yes. Well, there was something that did happen. I found out that the creator, I don't know if it was, no, the director, I want to say it was, of the what the anime we watched last week, Rising of the Shield Hero. When he was asked what kind of controversy was brought up according to in Japan with the content of his show, he said there was none. That in Japan they can talk about these sort of things, and it's not controversial over there at all.
Huh. Okay.
So.
All right. Well, that makes sense. You know, different countries, they have different different belief systems. They, what could be controversial here, obviously, might not be controversial in another country.
Sure.
I mean, what might be controversial here in Utah wouldn't be controversial in California.
Oh, not even slightly.
So, yeah, no. Anyway.
So cultural differences and whatnot. And that's kind of one of the reasons we love anime, is because we are seeing reflections of other cultures.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get right into it. This week we watched, for 3 episodes in, Kaguya-sama, Love is War. From a good family? Check. A good personality? Check. A Shunshin Academy is where all these elite students with bright futures flock to, as the 2 leaders of the student council, Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane, have supposedly fallen in love. But after almost half a year, nothing has happened. They both have too much pride and can't be honest. Things have gotten troublesome, and they are now caught in a war of how to get the other to confess their love first. This is a whole new romantic comedy following an outbreak of cunning warfare between 2 elite students in love. And right at the very beginning...
the opening monologue.
The opening monologue. This narrator is amazing.
He is.
We both want to talk about it, but go ahead and start.
So this guy, so the narrator talks about how what a wonderful, delightful thing it would be to have a boy confesses love to a girl, and they become a couple and they get together. And that normally would be a beautiful thing.
When it shows like this guy confessing to a girl and she accepts, and then like a chapel pops up and all these animals appear, and hundreds of people just crowd them, talking about how wonderful it is, congratulations, and things like that.
Yeah, the huge crowd of people and a handful of animals, which kind of made me think of the Lion King a little bit. It's like everybody's here to praise you. For whatever reason. Like, there's a giraffe and an elephant. Because. And a couple others that were smaller that didn't pop up over the crowd once the crowd appeared. But then he goes, but that's not true, because even in romantic relationships, there is the person who wants to take advantage of the person who will be taken advantage of. There are winners and there are losers. There are power struggles in love, and love is war. And so we have these...
And you show, like, the woman dominating the guy, like, one will be the dominator, one will be the dominatee, or, whatever.
Yeah. Which just made me think of the Eurythmics song. Some of them want to use you, some of them want to abuse you.
Yep.
Some of them want to be abused. But no, he's got a chain around his neck, and his head is under her foot, and she's standing on him and laughing in the kind of pose. And apparently our 2 main characters believe this dichotomy so strongly that they refuse to be the first one to confess their love. They're trying to get the other one to go first, because then in the power game of their struggle, one of them will be the winner. And what was really nice about the character introductions between these two is I don't like them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're eminently unlikable characters to
Mhm.
start off, and so seeing the pain that they cause in themselves and each other by refusing
Is
to,
so
it's
delightful.
satisfying. That I mean,
Mhm.
what there's a German the German word for it, Schadenfreude, like
Mhm. Mhm.
the delight you get from seeing other people's misery.
Mhm.
I mean, if they were sympathetic characters, like a couple, when what was it, last week, the week before, where we watched those two. No, it was the week before, where we watched
Mhm.
the girl that was perpetually teasing
Mhm.
the guy. Because he's a sympathetic character, felt bad for him. These two aren't sympathetic characters.
No, they're awful.
They're awful, and watching them get just
The girl is the princess of one of the 4 top conglomerates in Japan.
yeah, it's
Like she's
like
the
she's the
super
heiress of a 100 trillion yen company.
something like that. And she's won awards for her entire life because of acting, of music, of playing music, doing all these things. And the guy, he builds himself up from nothing. He comes from a family of nothing, but he is so smart and so skilled at studying that he has risen to the top of this prestigious academy that they go to. This academy that used to be like, it's 200 years old, and it used to be for the nobility's children. Well, they don't have any nobility anymore, so now it's just for the super elite rich, for their children.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm looking up guys. The narrator. I wanted to see what else he was in. He's been in Bleach. Done a couple voices in Bleach. He's done a lot of stuff. Darker Than Black. He was in Drifters and Fairy Tale. He was in Gintama, character that you haven't met. He's also in GTO, which is one of the greatest anime ever made. Log Horizon. I don't think you've met the character he was in Log Horizon, though.
No, I haven't watched Log Horizon.
We started watching it together, but we got distracted. And Log Horizon is a show where you have to pay attention at the very beginning, simply because of how many characters they introduce, how quickly they introduce them. Otherwise, you're going to get lost. Anyway, yeah. So the very first thing is them. Again, this is a show that's got episodes, like it's an episodic show.
Yeah, and there's 3 shorts per episode.
Yeah,
it seems.
And each one is the two of them trying to get each other to be the one to confess. Yep. So it starts off with them being like, "Oh, I'm obviously just like," the very first scene is that everyone in the school thinks that they are dating because they're always together. But the reason they're always together is because they are the student body president and vice president.
Yeah.
And and so the first episode starts off with all the students saying, "Oh, they're such a good couple together. They always look so cool. I wonder if they're dating. I bet they are dating, but they're probably keeping it a secret," and things like that. And then they get to the student council office, and the girl Kaguya says, she's pouring him a cup of tea. She says, apparently there's a rumor saying that we are dating, and he thinks to himself how lowly it would be for him to confess to a girl like her, and how like amazing he is, and all these things. And he just thinks to himself, but if she were to confess to me, I might deign her worthy to to date her. And then it's almost the exact same thing from her point of view, because it cuts to her now, and she's like, imagine that, them thinking that we're dating. Like, I would date a weed like this guy.
I generally wouldn't even consider a man unless he gave me a country as a flirtatious gesture.
Yeah, as a flirtatious gesture. Like, just crazy stuff like that. He would have to give me chocolates and like all
country.
These, the way she mentions country is just so casual. It's just like she's got this list of things that she requires of a guy to give her when they start dating, like flowers, chocolates, a country.
Yes.
Just to her, it's just a matter of fact. She would have to be given a country. And it's like, but if he were to confess to me, he is attractive enough. I could probably work him into the type of man who would be worthy of me. And so you start off hating these two because they're just nasty. But that's what makes this so good, because they're both horrible people, and everything they're doing is completely their own dumb faults.
It is.
But
it really is.
It starts off so good. Like, the first episode, I was reminded of Death Note. just the mind games between L and Light, and just kind of the animation where it's just got this super intense animation style where it's going through their internal monologues, and I'm like, this is amazing. Holy crap, I love this so much.
It's so good.
But it's Sherlock and Moriarty level of mind games in a rom-com.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt a little bit like this could have been written by Shakespeare. This could have been a Much Ado About Nothing, just a different way of going about it.
This is very much Much Ado About Nothing, the anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they refuse to admit that they love each other.
But anyway, I wrote, we both try to come up with things that we liked about the show. And I just kept writing things that I loved about the show. Like, very next on my list is just Fujiwara. Okay, so the reason I mentioned this in the next time from the last episode about that image I sent you about the girl teaching this blonde guy how to play volleyball.
Yes.
And she's just this adorable pink-haired girl.
Yes.
Well, that is Chika Fujiwara, their secretary.
Yes.
And she is nowhere near on their intellectual level, but she is an adorable and an absolute sweetheart. Okay?
She's not an idiot, but she's also not the super genius that she's dealing with. And so she's so down to earth. And she is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, no, in order to go to this school, she has to have a certain level of intelligence.
She's
not an idiot.
No.
It's just she's not on their level is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These guys are super geniuses, but that's where the humor comes from because they're over-analyzing everything.
Which kind of just reminded me all of a sudden about Dee Dee getting in between Dexter and Mandark.
Oh, gosh.
Like, you got these super geniuses that are working too hard, and she just loves life and isn't at all concerned about the kind of things that and the chaos that she sows between the two of them.
Oh my gosh! Well,
is glorious.
And like the two of them are sitting so in the very first bit, they're still they're trying to out-calculate each other, trying to figure out oh no, if I'm okay, she said this, now I'm going to say this in order to counter that, and now I'm going to say this in order to counter that. Well, it starts off, after they have their, I'll go ahead and have them be the one to confess to me, it says 6 months later. And nothing has happened.
Yeah.
And so the two of them are now obviously desperate, though they would never, they're too prideful to show it, but they're desperate to get the other person to confess. And we see some things, and Chika every once in a while just says something casually that reminds them how it helps increase the level of desperation that they have. But she doesn't mean anything by it at all. But anyway, so I forget what it is, but what she says, but the two of them are trying to outclass each other or outsmart each other, saying, well, saying this will make her say that. Oh, but if I say it this way, then obviously it's going to deflect it, and I've got my ace up my sleeve.
So the first, and this just happens all the time in every single sequence, that this level of thought goes between the two of them. And the first instance, what's her name?
Chika or Kaguya?
Chika happens to have 2 tickets to a movie that she can't go see. That's right. And so she hands them off to go see them. And he says, and so he is about to
I won a contest and I got these 2 tickets, but I'm not free this weekend, so how about I give them to you to use?
Well, it just happens to be one of my free weekends. So do you want to go see?
I have a very rare free weekend. How about...
And he's about to say, do you want to go to see it with me? When Chika interrupts and says, by the way, there's a rumor that if 2 people go to see this movie, they're destined to fall in love.
They're destined to fall in love and become a couple. And it's like this romantic... And right before he finishes saying, go to see this movie with me, he says, go to see it.
Yeah. And it's like, oh... Were you going to invite me to a romantic movie?
Oh, were you going to invite me to a romantic movie? That would be very much like going on a date. That's almost as if you were about to, perhaps you wanted to confess something to me type thing. But then he turns around and plays it on her, and she's like, well, only if you believe silly rumors like that.
Yes. And so they're going back and forth, and they're playing this chess game between the two of them.
And there's
and
all
then
these mathematical calculations going on between them.
And then we find out that she rigged the contest, or
She
faked it. She faked the
it,
contest,
created a fake contest.
so that Chica would end up with these tickets, so that he would be forced to ask her out.
Forced to ask her out. She knew he had a free weekend, and so she bought these tickets and made an envelope and wrote on the envelope that Chica won some contest. And now Chica, but she knew Chica wasn't going to be free, so...
So she plotted the whole thing.
She plotted the whole thing.
And the most beautiful thing is that as this exchange is going back and forth, and they're trying to find the best ideal chess move in their relationship to try to move it forward, but be the one to force the other one to move it forward.
But then Chica says, "Oh, maybe you want. Well, maybe if you're having trouble going to see that one, maybe you'll want to see this one instead." And she has like tickets to some kid movie.
Yeah, something about a fish.
Yeah, a bird and a fish, or something like that.
And then suddenly it's just chaos theory. Chaos theory. It's brought up.
Just like the narrator says, just as they are about to reach the conclusions of their super genius intellectual calculations. Chaos theory, and then it shows all their calculations, and like just birds and other things just enter it and screw everything up, which is what Chica is.
Yes.
But they were thinking so hard that now they just need sugar because their brains are fried, and they both died for the one steamed bun that's in the room, so they could have sugar for their brains.
Yes.
But Chica's like, "Oh, we're gonna be late to class," and she eats the bun and walks out.
Leaving the two of them face down on a table with steam coming out of their heads because they thought too hard about this. And it's just, like I said a moment ago, watching these two suffer is so delightful.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Well, and the next bit I think we should talk about, at least the next one that I have written down here, is the food bit. Where at the end of each bit, the narrator announces who won or who lost, or if it was a draw, or you know, or whatever. But anyway, so the president, Miyuki, the boy, he brings his own lunch to school, and Kaguya, she's just like, huh. I was like, "Oh, you brought your own lunch?" Oh, you brought your lunch today?
Well, what happened leading up to that scene was they were walking down, and there was a couple sitting on a bench, and one was feeding food to the other. And this segment of the episode is called Kaguya Wants It.
Kaguya wants it.
And so she wants to be in a situation where he's feeding her food, or something of that regard.
She wants that. They're both playing it off as, disgusting degradation of morals within public. How dare they do that in public, whatever. And it's like, oh, I guess it's lunchtime, though. And so he pulls out his lunch, and she's like, "Oh, you brought your lunch today?" He's like, "Yep. My grandfather in the country sent us a batch of his vegetables. I mean, it's not very much, but it's delicious because everything is fresh." And he produces his...
but they're both stubborn. Well, she won't ask for any, and he won't offer.
Yeah. Well, he takes it off. He takes the lid off of his lunchbox, his bento, and then it cuts to the narrator about how every single day Kaguya, her family's army of chefs, has made her a perfectly balanced lunch, and they deliver it to her every day fresh while she's at school. So she has never once had to bring her lunch to school. But she had never experienced a lunch like this before, type thing. And he pulls it off, and it's the typical. It's got rice. It's got the octopus hot dogs, a
little bit of hamburger, and
some hamburger and things like that. And she's like, "Oh, I want some of that."
It's like, I've never seen an actual sausage cut in the shape of a squid before.
I've never seen a hot dog sentence that it exists. Those are real. I didn't think those existed. I want to try one. And she's thinking like she really wants him to give her one.
She is too prideful and insists that he offer, and he's too prideful and insists that she ask.
And so
who asks?
Chaos Theory asks. And so Chica walks in and is like, "Oh, that looks so delicious." And he just says,
some?
"Oh, would you like to try some?" He just says right up. And as this exchange is happening, like Chica, like she tries the hamburger, she tries one of the octopus hot dogs, and every once in a while he looks over to Kaguya, and he sees this death glare.
Yes.
The death glare is aimed at Chica, but she is standing right, like Chika is standing right between Kaguya and Miyuki.
Yes.
And so Miyuki thinks that Kaguya is giving this death glare to him. He's like, "Did I do something wrong? What's going on? Wait, what? Huh? No, I don't know what I did."
Right.
Type thing. And then like he gives her the octopus, and she eats it again. And he's like, she thinks that this is I get it. She's looking down at me because of my peasant lunch. Well, I'm going to show her how amazing fresh ingredients can be, no matter what the food is. And like the girl, she eats the Chika, when she eats the hamburger, she talks about how absolutely delicious and amazing it is. And he's like,
and in Kaguya's mind, her mind just goes to all the different memories of happy times that she had with Chika because they were childhood friends. They've known each other forever. And it's like, as of this moment, our friendship ends. You are an animal.
She says to herself, I have it written down. Yeah. I rewound it and made sure I got the exact line down. Miss Fujiwara, I consider you a friend. But if your life is in danger tomorrow, I wouldn't lift a finger to help you. She says to herself.
Yes.
Because Chika is eating all the foods from that she wants to eat and being fed them by the boy she's in love with, but is too prideful to admit it to herself. But it's this ultimate yandere moment where it's just like, this is how yandere is formed.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if she murdered her.
Her face went pale, her eyes went red, and it reminded me of that scene.
Her eyes are already red because of her character design, but it just went bright red.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just reminded me of that scene from Asobi Asobase, where the grudge face appears.
Which we should probably mention that Chika is voiced by the same voice actress who did the girl with the glasses.
I got it. I'm pulling it up right now. For it. Is that she was Kasumi Nomura, the girl with the glasses and the large breasts.
The one who figured out that the foreigner didn't actually know English.
Oh yeah, and plays the punishment the first time they play the punishment. 2 fingers up the nostrils,
up the nose.
Skull. But yeah, so she's in that show.
Okay, but anyways, so finally, Miyuki, he pulls out his trump card, which is rice and miso soup. Where this is like the thing that people ate for generations. They would eat the cold rice and then drink the miso soup, and it's just absolutely amazing. And of course Chika wants to try it, so he lets Chika try it. And Chika uses the chopsticks and digs her chopsticks into the same spot that Miyuki started eating from. And it's like, no, what are you doing?
That's like an indirect kiss.
That's like an indirect kiss. And then she drinks from the exact same side of the cup that Miyuki drinks from. And so, once again, that upsets her even more. And then Miyuki looks back at Kaguya, and Kaguya is even angrier. And he's like, he has no clue at all what's going on. The next day, she's decided she's going to pull out all the stops, and she's had her chefs made the absolute best lunch they could.
She's got lobster sticking out of it.
Lobster, fried chicken, all these just amazing meals, pieces of food in her bento. And they're just like, wow, that looks amazing. Well, let's eat. Not even asking her a thing, and they both pull out their bentos.
And it turns out that he made Chika's bento for that day.
He made Chika's bento, which upsets Kaguya even more. And he's just like, it's not that hard to make two when you're already making one. It's not that big of a difference.
And in Kaguya's mind, Chika is now an animal who requires humans to give her sustenance.
It's like, so you're a pig. So you're not a human. You're a pig that requires or you're a cow that requires humans to give you your sustenance, type thing. And she's just insulting Chika more and more in her mind. And she eats, and then Miyuki sees Kaguya and thinks, why is she so mad at me? I don't understand what's going on. Yeah. And he's like, oh, wait, I have a club meeting I need to get to. And he just eats his food super fast, which of course upsets Kaguya, because she's like, wait, no, what are you doing? And he eats all his food and just runs out.
Just before that, though, she tries to offer him something, like, she tries to tempt him with some of the items that he has, like, get him to ask for some of her food, and he goes, nothing that I have is even deserving of an exchange with what you have. So, it's like, It's like, I didn't want to trade. I wanted you to ask for something. I would have given it to you.
Uh-huh.
But they're just too stubborn.
They're just too stubborn. And then he runs off.
And he runs off.
Then Kaguya is just broken down and she's crying and she's just so upset. And then she gets a tap on the shoulder and it's Chika offering her the octopus hot dog
from her own lunch.
And then she eats it and she's like, "I'm so sorry, Chika. You're a human. Don't let anybody else ever tell you anything different." He's like, "Wait, what? Huh?
Like,
believe in yourself. You're a human."
I'm sorry.
I've never not believed that I'm a human.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry. I thought you were. I'm sorry. I was wrong. You are human. What did you think I was before?
What did you think I was before? Yeah. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Believe in yourself. You are a human. Like, what? I've never not believed that. And that's where that bit ends.
So good.
Gosh.
Oh.
Miss Fujiwara, I considered you a friend, but if your life was in danger tomorrow, I wouldn't lift a finger to help you. I'm just like, that's so good. Oh, gosh. Okay, so there's so many bits and skits. I don't think we can cover all of them, but the next one that really stuck out to me was him getting the smartphone.
Yes, the thing with the smartphone is so good.
The smartphone.
Because he's... there's an event in that skit that I wrote down. It's like there's this thing called the Barnum effect. Mm-hmm. I actually had to Google this.
Real fast, what I know about Chika is the GOAT.
GOAT, greatest of all time. We've covered it.
Okay, I did not know that. I did not know that's what GOAT meant. Greatest of all time. Okay. Anyway, no, holy crap, and no, he gets a smartphone and he gets the Line social app, which they mention in all of it's just like a fun way to communicate with your friends and people like that in Japan.
Yeah, it's Japan's social network.
And he finally gets a cell phone, and he's like, now that I have a cell phone, Kaguya will definitely ask me for my contact information.
And she's just over there waiting for him to offer his contact information.
And she's drinking some tea. And the thing is, Chika's the first one to get the contact information because she has no qualms about it whatsoever. She's just being friendly. It's like, great, now we can go ahead and communicate and chat online. It'll be wonderful. Wait. But, yeah, so go ahead and then he looks at her and sees her scowling again.
So what happens is he shows her a pic. So what happens was he shows her her profile picture, and the profile picture is himself when he's younger. It's like, oh, you had your cute scowl back then. That's his technique
to try to get her to ask for his line information because he's like, I'm going to go ahead and change this picture in 3 minutes.
Yes, he does say that.
And he's like, I don't know, I don't like this picture very much. I'll probably just change it in 3 minutes. And Kaguya's just like, oh, I want to see that picture. It's a picture of him when he was younger.
And so Kaguya pulls out this vial that reads Maiden Tears on it, and then secretly puts it in her eyes to make it look like she's crying. And she starts crying.
And she starts crying and starts insulting him and says,
like, oh, you're just terrible.
You're terrible.
And I have to get this out because at that moment the narrator starts talking about the Barnum effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Barnum effect is how horoscopes and personality quizzes work, is by making something sound specific but actually isn't. You can say anything and make it seem like it's something important. Mm-hmm. It's probably named after P.T. Barnum.
Maybe. I don't know.
But so that's what I found out Googling it. But what I got out of it was, men, we don't know what we did.
Hey, are you going to math? Yeah, I'll see you there.
That's that Family Guy bit.
You're awful. Men, we don't know what we did.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that's yeah. I saw you write it. I saw your note because I watched these episodes after you did, and I was like, oh gosh, I want to see this. But yeah, and there's just this amazing there's like this circle around him with like the word Barnum just heading towards him as like this circle is constantly closing over him and stuff. He's like,
what have I done? And then what does he do? He acquiesces and shows her the picture of what his profile picture looks like, and then realizes, what have I done? I've just given up my trump card. And he tries to pull it away. Too late. And she stops crying immediately, has
and she
eidetic
memorized
memory.
the picture in a split second, so she knows what it looks like, and she can just pull it up whenever she wants. The best part about this entire bit, though, is finally when she pulls out her cell phone.
It's a flip phone.
It's a flip phone.
It's a flip phone she's had since kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the app.
Like, oh, well, she pulls it out, but she doesn't realize it's not a smartphone. It doesn't realize it can't have line. But, like, apparently Kaguya didn't know that. Or not Kaguya. The guy, Miyuki, doesn't realize that either.
Miyuki doesn't realize that she only has the flip phone. That she doesn't have a smartphone. He just assumed that since she's rich, she'd have the latest and greatest thing.
Well, and, like, she pulls out this little flip phone, and it's Chica that says, line won't work on that.
But neither of the geniuses knew this.
Wait, what?
They're like how Einstein didn't quite understand how doorknobs functioned.
There's like, no, line isn't going to work on that. Like, wait, what? Why not? You super rich girl, just buy a new phone.
I've had this since kindergarten. I'm too attached to it.
I'm not going to get rid of it. And the very bit of them is them exchanging their contact information. Not over line, but just so they can mail each other.
Yeah.
Because the way it works in Japan is you've got your phone number, and then your account will usually have an email, and that's how they text back and forth. It's an email system, not an SMS. So, so even like in the States, we have your cell phone number. We can text you.
Yeah,
that's not the way it works in Japan.
Right.
Anyways,
that makes sense. Based on all the things I've seen, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but her smartphone isn't even a smartphone.
It's true.
And then, if I recall correctly, the next bit is actually the. No, the next bit is the love advice bit, isn't it? Or the next bit we should probably talk about.
Yeah. So everyone assumes that he's been in a relationship with.
He's the coolest guy in school, so obviously he's dated multiple girls.
Right.
That's just how they see it.
Right. And so this guy comes up to him to ask him for dating advice, and the guy can't let out that he has no experience whatsoever in that regard, so he just starts lying through his teeth.
Because he's just like, if they learn that I don't have anything, everyone's going to start making fun of me because of it. So I my pride won't handle that. And
so he starts lying, and to add to the Shakespeareanness of the setup, Kaguya is hiding behind the door, listening in because she wants to find out what he thinks about love.
She hears that he's giving advice, and so she wants to find out what he thinks about love. And it's like, okay, so why do you think this girl likes you? Well, she gave me chocolate on Valentine's. Or like, why do you want to date this girl? She's great. She gave me chocolate on Valentine's.
Well, what kind of chocolate did she give you?
Little chocolate balls. And Kaguya's immediately like, chocolate balls! No!
Those are the default gift. That's just saying, hi, I like, hi, you're nice.
No, that's obligatory chocolate. That's them giving you chocolate so you don't feel bad on Valentine's. It's not romantic in the slightest. And he's just like, you're lucky. That's a very romantic gesture. And Kaguya's like, wait, what? He's like, she's giving it to you, but it's just chocolate balls. That's why she gave it to you, so it's not overly obvious that she likes you. She's keeping it a secret. He's like, oh, well, what else do you think, why else do you think she might like?
Well, there's this one time when she asked me if I had a girlfriend.
Oh, and what happened?
Well, I told her no. And then she told her friends, she doesn't have a girlfriend. Like, he doesn't look like
I knew it. And then yeah, no, that's and Kaguya's like, yeah, no, they're just making fun of you. And he's like, you are in your most popular time right now. And Kaguya again is like, wait, what? No, he's not. They're obviously making fun of him. And the way he interprets all the lines is, I knew it. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And he's like, that's so I can date him myself. And like each girl, he does pretty much the exact same thing, I knew he didn't have a girlfriend. It's because all the girls are too bashful to ask him, or type thing. And he's like, okay, well, all right, well, if you were to ask her out, what would you do? I would do a technique that I came up with myself. And he walks over to the door, and he's like, what you do is you walk up to her and you slam your hand into the wall, and he slams his hand against the door, which makes Kaguya jump.
And she just has the most adorable squeak. That is like, I can't believe that she didn't get caught at that
he
moment.
hit the door really, really loudly.
He did hit the door really loudly.
Yep, but she's blushing. She's obviously,
And then you whisper, "Will you go out with me?"
Yeah.
Which causes her to doki doki, and
yeah, her heart is just throbbing, and like her face is pink with her, and she's blushing like crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is a technique I patented myself. I call it the hand slap." And she says, "That's something that's been around forever."
And it's called something else.
Yeah. But anyway, he's like, "That's great. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now." And she's,
So the entire time, the narrator's just saying how bad all this advice is.
Yeah, this is just terrible advice. But anyway, so the president then sits back down and he's talking to the guy again. He's like, "Whoa, I mean, like, you're dating, like, I knew you'd have great advice. I mean, you conquered Kaguya. Like, no one else would be able to do that." And he's like, "Oh, we're not dating." He's like, wait, you're not? "No, we're not."
So yeah, nobody's ever conquered me.
She thinks herself, "Nobody's ever conquered me." And he just says, "Besides, I'm pretty sure that she hates me." Like, wait, what? And she's like, "What? No, I don't especially hate you," she says to herself.
It's like, she has no self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then just as a montage of all the times she's glared at him.
"I don't especially hate you. Did I do something to give you that idea?" And then it says, she has no self-awareness. As it just goes to all the times where she has been glaring in his general direction. It's like, good. Besides, why on earth would I be interested in her? I mean, he starts listing off all these things about her, and then he's like, "But those are her best assets. I mean, she's wonderful. She's the most incredible girl in the world." And then she starts getting angry at him because he starts listing her these things that are like negative about her.
Yeah.
But then he talks about how incredible those things are, and she just gets super happy and excited again. And it cuts back, and we see that he had just noticed her. Part of her ponytail is sticking out past the door, and it's like that part is highlighted. It's flashing, and it shows him just noticing her. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of the arrows in Oron.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This whole school had a very Oron vibe to it too. Just ridiculous elitism.
Oron, it was just over the top ridiculous though.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah. Oh gosh, that bit was amazing though. Just the talking of her and
then she comes back, and then later she comes back in and is all smiles and giving.
Like, "Oh, what's this? Is
this your smile for the day?
Is this your one smile for the day?" "No, I'm always like this. What are you talking about?" Which is freaking him out.
Yes.
I don't especially hate you. Did I do something to give you that impression? She has no sense of self-awareness.
So true.
Anyway, so the next bit is the magazine that we should probably talk about. Unless there's another bit you want to talk about?
No. Okay, so we just covered episode 2. Episode 3
is the magazine.
Yeah,
episode 2 is the magazine, the retreat, and 20 questions.
Now, what's happening is, in the first episode, as we covered, it had all of the intro.
Mm-hmm.
The second episode had all of the intro a little abridged, but not as much, but it was still mostly there. The third episode, it started, and then literally fast forwarded itself through the intro.
Until
and
you got to
Love is War.
Love is War, and then it got to the opening credits.
Yeah.
Anyway, this one starts off with
which reminded me of the what was that show? Kill la Kill had a recap episode, and it lasted all of 2 minutes of the episode, and they just fast forwarded everything that happened up to that point. See, even in this show, our recap episodes are epic, and then it goes on to the rest of the show.
Well, that just reminds me of Shirobako, where the director is having nightmares about having recap episodes.
Oh, no, I promise no more recap episodes.
I promise no more recap episodes. We'll never do it again. No more recap episodes. This one starts with the three of them in the student council office.
Yes.
And there's a magazine that's a fairly, it's like a fashion magazine or something like that.
It seems to be a magazine of an adult nature that was not permitted on school grounds.
Well, one of the teachers apparently confiscated it from a student and gave it to the student council to dispose of.
Why didn't the teacher dispose of it himself? Why is he handing it off to us?
Yeah, why didn't the teacher dispose of it himself? And then Chica picks up the book and opens it. He's like, this can't be that bad, can it? Opens it up, reads one question, freaks out, drops the book, and just goes over and has an adorable little freak out over in the corner. Just talking about how
lewd, this country's becoming too lewd.
She even says lewd wrong at first. Like, she says something and then she corrects herself to say lewd. Like, this country's too lewd. It's too lewd. It's so bad. And
so immediately,
Miyuki
thinks there might have been a pornographic image in there, which immediately, why would the teacher not dispose of that immediately?
Yeah, like, why would he dispose of it immediately?
And so Kaguya picks it up and then reads this article about how 1 in 3 students, 34% of students have done it.
Have done it, have had their first experience.
Yes.
By the time they've graduated. And then, of course,
and the two people who had standard upbringings understood what it meant.
Well, and
immediately.
There's yes, and part of the joke of this scene is that you as the viewer quickly realize that they are not talking about the same thing.
Yeah, no.
Whatever doing it is to Kaguya, it is not the same thing that it is to the other two, and they have but they don't know it. They don't catch it because she starts saying things like, "What? I mean, like 34%. That number seems a little bit low to me. Actually, he's like, wait, what? Yeah, I mean,
don't you guys have loving families?
I mean, don't you guys come from loving families? Yes, but why? Like, I mean, you've got a younger sister, right? You've probably done it with her before.
What kind of sick, twisted upbringing have you been through? I mean, I've even done it with my newborn nephew.
I mean, I did it with my newborn nephew. We have it on video, and there's like, what? And they're freaking out. Well, the best bit is that it says 1 in 3 students have done it, and there's 3 students in that room, and it points out that fact, 1 in 3, and there's 3 of them in that room.
Yeah. and so it just gets naughtier and naughtier until it's like, what do you think it is?
Finally,
she's as a lady, I shouldn't have to say it.
Finally, she's so casual about it, and Miyuki's just like, what do you think doing it means? Well, as a lady, I shouldn't have to tell you this. But obviously, it's your first kiss.
And then Chico's like, I'll tell her.
Well, and he's about to say something, and Chico's like, no, this is on me. Like, no, I'll do it, type thing. And she just has this serious...
so the narrator goes on to say, okay, this girl's upbringing is so... Like, the kissing was the extent of her sexual education. She's 16 years old and has received no sex ed beyond the idea of kissing.
Well, she still thinks that babies come from the stork. It even says that. Like, it shows a little montage of her sexual education from her home.
And it's like, it was like the trope of the extreme girl from a box. Girl in a box.
She's the extreme girl in a box. And then Chica goes over, and every once in a while you hear her say, this goes into that, and then this, and then that. And
it cut to 16 minutes later.
16 minutes. And it's 16 is one frame, like the entire screen, 16. And then minutes later. Just this extreme intense. And you just see Kaguya just beat red, super embarrassed. Yeah, they are not talking about the same thing, but oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yes.
And then we have the retreat where they talk about where they want to go for a little vacation.
Yes.
Because summer vacation is coming up, and actually we skipped I think this is actually after the smartphone bit, but it's totally fine. Chica says, like, they're talking about where they want to go. Well, Chica's like, we should do a vacation. And the two of them are like, no, that's stupid. We shouldn't do that at all. And then she just says something, well, if you don't act fast, I mean, we're young. If you don't act fast, you'll graduate without accomplishing anything. And then there's like this little Dragon Quest text that goes, boom, 80 points of damage was done to Kaguya and Yuki's hearts.
Oh, because Dragon Quest is everything.
Mm-hmm. But it's like 80 points of damage was done to their hearts. Just like, oh gosh, yeah, no.
So they
that,
both
that
get
hit home.
And so they decide to discuss what they're going to do over summer vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And what's his name? Miyuki has this grand master plan of wooing Kaguya on the mountain.
They're going to go up to the mountain, they're going to go on a hike, and they're going to barbecue, they're going to go see the stars, and then he's going to talk about how amazing all the stars are and stuff.
And point out each one, and like, even though they're so close, they're so far away.
Just like us.
Just like us. It's like, I don't want to be far away from you. I want to be like Beetlejuice and B2 that are just orbiting each other. And Let me orbit you.
And then she he pictures her embracing him. And he's like, yes, we definitely have to go to the mountain. So what we're going to do is, as he says to both of them, we're going to go to, and then...
The beach.
The beach is what Kaguya says.
Yeah,
and he's like, wait, no. Wait, what? No. And it's like, and then she's having the exact same mental image of how she's going to woo him, but it's because of her beautiful figure in her in a swimsuit is going to go ahead and and seeing that all day long while they're at the beach is just going to go ahead and batter down his defenses.
And if they go to a West Coast beach, the sun will set and it'll be fantastic. Mm-hmm. And so she's thinking about all this and how great it's going to be. To get him to confess his love to her, and so she thinks the beach is the best option. Mm-hmm. But then it turns out he can't swim, and so if they go to the beach, he'll have an inflatable, and it's just going to be embarrassing. And every single episode, almost every single clip in every episode, there's the nightmare scenario in his mind is her addressing him like, "Oh, how cute!"
Like, "Oh, how cute! Oh, kawaii-so." Like it's all like kawaii-so means how cute, but at the same time it's like, oh, you poor thing. It's very much talking down to you.
Yeah, and so he couldn't abide. His pride couldn't abide being addressed that way, and so he doesn't want to go to the. So he wants to go to the mountains, and she wants to go to the beach, and so he keeps coming up with reasons not to go to the beach. Like, what about sharks? I'll hire a hunter from Florida, and we'll have shark fin soup. Oh, what about tourists?
It's going to be too crowded.
We'll go to one of the private beaches my company owns.
We'll go to one of the private beaches my family owns type thing. We'll be fine. And then he, finally he's like, no, beach. The thing that he finally agrees to is that she points out that there's insects on the mountain.
Yeah.
And he can't handle insects. So finally he agrees to go to the beach. And then she's like, yes, I've won.
And then what does Chica do?
And Chica just says, oh, yay, the beach, that's great. Oh, wait, I've outgrown my swimsuit from last year. And then, she's measuring herself, and she just says, I'm going to have to buy a new one. And then Kaguya looks up, and she just suddenly realizes she's lost.
Yeah, between the two of them, Chica is the more well-endowed character.
Chica's very much well-endowed. And she's not flat, but she has
a beautiful feminine figure, but not a well-endowed feminine figure.
Yeah, and the narrator points that out. She says she's confident in her feminine figure, but when it comes to being well endowed, she loses to Chica. And
so in a swimsuit competition,
she would lose.
Yeah,
and she knows that, and so she has this mental image of him falling for Chica, and then making fun of her for not having the same figure as Chica, and so she's just like, we should go to the mountain, and then he's like, no, we're going to the beach. No, mountain, beach. And then finally there's like, okay,
Chica, you decide.
And she's like, oh, this is too much. Okay, let's go to the mountain. But let's go to this mountain. She names some haunted mountain and starts talking about how we can see ghosts and do all these things. And we should have a spirit medium. And she's like, what kind of spirit medium should we get? Should we get a Christian or like a Buddhist? And just starts listing off all these things. Apparently she's really into the occult.
and then she starts listing all these famous dead people that she hopes to summon. Like Shakespeare or George Washington or Gandhi or...
And the two of them they do not want to have anything to do with going to a haunted mountain.
No.
At all.
Yeah, this sounds like a bad idea for both of them.
And so the last bit is the 20 questions. And
yes.
I forget exactly how it goes into it, but the premise or how it leads up to it, but the premise is that Kaguya wants to test whether or not Miyuki knows her as well as he claims he does.
Yeah.
And so they're going to do 20 questions. And it's just this amazing...
But you know me so well. Let's do half that. 10 questions.
Let's do 10 questions. He's
You
like,
could-
okay.
You could ask 10 questions to figure out what I wrote on this piece of paper.
Mhm. And then he's like, okay, and he does like a finger gun shoot at her, but then like the image of an actual, I forget what it was called.
It was like a 20-question revolver.
Well, it's an actual revolver that existed. Like there's a revolver. It had 10 rounds in it.
Oh wow.
You can go ahead and look it up. They named it and everything.
Okay.
But a picture of that gun appears in his hand, and every once in a while, like he'll ask a question, and it's like a Western shootout between the two of them, where he's asking 20 questions, and every time he gets a question, she answers yes, he hits his target.
Yeah. Like blows her hat off or something like that,
and he's just like,
which reminds me of something in the opening credit sequence is that as Love is War, the two of them are just end up having these various guns or sword battles as they're trying to trick the other into wooing them.
Yep. But so he asks her all these questions, and she keeps saying no. He's like, have you seen it today? No. Have you touched it today? Is it something that belongs in your house or that lives in your house? No. Does it? Have you touched it today? No. Does it belong to you? No. Okay. Is it? And he starts thinking to himself. He's just like, do you like it? And she's like, yes. And she's super shy and bashful about it. And he's just like, wait a minute. And he starts asking a couple more questions, and
he gets to the last question and is convinced it might be him that was
like,
on
this
that.
is me. Like this is her way of confessing to me. I've done it. She's confessing to me. He's like, but then he's like, wait a minute.
She wouldn't confess this way.
She wouldn't confess this way. It's a dog, isn't it?
and
she's like, yes.
Yeah, she had written down the dog that Chica apparently has. And...
Yeah, Chica's got a little blonde dog, and the thing that and she just gets super embarrassed. She's like, all right, let's wrap up for the night. He's like, wait, what, really? So yeah, apparently he knows her better than she thinks.
Yeah,
which she's upset about. And then we have, oh no, that's right. So that's not the last bit.
No,
the last bit is her
walking to school one day.
Her walking to school one day. For her entire life, she's ridden to school, and we see that she's looking out the window and she sees kids walking to school together, and she's never had that experience.
And the narrator says something like, for the 3,765th time, she looks out the window longingly on her way to school.
And finally, one day, a cat has taken up residence in the
engine
block, and so they can't get the car started. And the chauffeur's like, "I'm having another car brought here. Just please wait." And she's like, "Oh, don't. By the time don't worry about it. I'll just walk." And she has a maid that we haven't mentioned yet. Oh no, I forgot to mention in the cell phone bit. One of my favorite things about the cell phone bit is it shows him walking back from the cell phone store, and I noticed that this girl who was standing outside the cell phone store was her maid. And I was like, wait a minute. And then another one of, okay, so this is the first time he purchased a cell phone. They point out that this was Kaguya's plan, was to have him buy a cell phone, finally. Everybody outside that store was one of her company's employees. They reveal that. They reveal that everybody outside of that store was one of her company's employees, including this maid. This maid is completely aware, and we see that just how much in love she is with, not the maid, but Kaguya. We see how much she's in love with Miyuki. Where the maid says to her,
okay. So what happened? One clip.
The maid's undressing her one night.
Yeah, one clip we didn't cover in the middle of the first episode is Kaguya gets a love note.
That's right.
And is volunteered to go to dinner, and Miyuki and so she's playing up the jealousy card, trying to get Miyuki to say no, don't go out with him, go out with me.
Because he almost does.
He almost does. And the beautiful thing about how that little sketch ends was that he plays her and goes, well, it must not have been true love if you were willing to give it up for me so quickly. And it's like, well, maybe I will go. It's like, the only way I'm not going right now is if he begs me not to go. And then she feels a hand on her shoulder. She turns around and it's Chica. Please don't go. I love you too much.
Please don't do this. Well, and the thing is, he's like, the reason Chica's saying that is because he says, this is immoral. I think I need to tell a teacher.
Yeah, he
Type
threatens
thing.
to tattle on her.
Maybe you'll get expelled. And
Well,
she's
if
like,
expulsion is worth it in the name of love.
Expulsion's worth it in the name of true love. And he's like, fine, I'm going on the state. Nothing can stop me. And then she goes like, I don't want you to get expelled. Please don't go. And she's like, fine, I won't go.
Chica's the best.
But at the end of that episode, she's talking to her maid while she's undressing her, talking about the foolish notion of love and stuff like that. And I forget. Do you remember what the question the maid asks her?
The maid does ask her, if you really loved somebody, would you be able to tell them that you love them, or would they walk away if if they'd end up with someone else?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. And then she starts thinking about it, and
of course I would.
And it was like and she's not really able to answer.
Yeah.
And then it's the narrator saying, and then the episode ends with the narrator saying, "This isn't like
this isn't a simple answer. Like, oh, I'm just too embarrassed to say."
Well, no, like saying that. Well, the narrator points out that she is too. Rather than it being her pride, deep down, it's really about her not being able to say it.
Mm.
So that's what the narrator points out in that episode. But anyway,
so what's happening is over the course of these episodes, they're becoming more likable and more relatable. Because at the beginning, they're just so unrelatable.
Well, yeah, and you enjoy seeing them going through this because of how unrelatable they are. But anyway, she walks to school for the first time, and this maid is out there as well. And it's like, well, the chauffeur says, please at least take the maid with you. And the maid's like, okay, but she looks to Kaguya, and Kaguya is winking.
Yeah, she gives her a double wink.
And she's like, oh, by the time it took me to get changed, she would be late for school. Yep, that's fine. I'll go on my own. Bye. And so she just goes off. She walks on her own. And on her way there, there's this little girl who's crying.
Yeah.
And she's terrified of going across the crosswalk on her own.
What happens in that particular sequence, Kaguya walks by. Did I say her name right?
Yes.
Yeah, Kaguya walks by her, and everybody else is also walking by her, and she's just bawling, and more people are just walking on by. And Kaguya comes back and says, tell me what's wrong quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kaguya is also, she knows that the president, that Miyuki, rides his bike to school every day, and he's never been late, but he's always been almost late because he rides his bike to school. And she's like, if he was riding his bike to school, that means he's probably on this road. So if I go on this road, then we might walk to school together. And so that's what her plan is. And so she's going off, but then she comes back to help the girl, and she helps the girl cross the. It's the girl's first time walking to school on her own.
Yes.
Up until this point,
she'd been with a group.
Yeah, she'd walk to school with a group. That's something that they do in elementary schools in Japan. Is that they have the kids the kids will meet up and then walk to school together in a group because it's safer that way.
Yeah.
But she's walking to school for the first time on her own, and she's terrified of crossing the crosswalk. And they go across the crosswalk, and she grabs Kaguya's arm and refuses to let go as they're going across the crosswalk, and she still won't let go. It's like, well, there's a lot more crosswalks between here and school, and she's just like, fine. And so they go and they're talking. She says this is the first day that my friend Yeti, who's a nickname for her friend, but after she explains that that's her friend's nickname, an actual Yeti walks by.
I missed that.
You missed that? Yeah, a Yeti walks by.
Wow.
But anyway, they shoot the she explains that my friend doesn't want to walk to school anymore because it's no longer required. And she says, well, as they cross a couple more crosswalks, Kaguya is just like, just because it's not required, it doesn't mean it's not allowed. It doesn't mean you can't do it.
So you could always go to your friend's house. You could always
just go to your friend's house and walk together from your friend's house.
Or agree on a place to meet up.
And that's totally fine. And she's like, oh, really? You're a genius. I didn't even think about that. And then she sees her friend Yeti, and they cross the street to meet her and stuff. And then they go off and they talk. And she and Yeti go to school. And then Kaguya is lost. And she's like, now where the crap am I?
Yes.
And then she starts going to school. Or she starts walking to school. And she's thinking to herself, well, I'm probably going to be late. And that sucks. But, whatever.
That probably means I'm going to get expelled just for being one late.
Actually, I don't think she goes that far, but she then hears this bicycle coming up, and it's Miyuki, and Miyuki says, "Wait, what are you doing?" Oh, they both see each other at the stopwalk
at a crosswalk.
At the crosswalk, and Miyuki's just like, "Wait, what are you doing here?" They're like, "Well, I'm walking to school." "Well, you're going to be late if you keep walking. Get on the back of my bike. Let's go." And she's just like, "Wait, no, I can't do that. Wait." But if you go, you are in the student body presidency.
School rules are more important than traffic laws.
Well, and he says that to her, but he also says, you are an example to the other students. You can't be late to school. Get on my bike. It's illegal to have a second person on your bike in Japan. Cops pull people over all the time for it. And so yes, school rules trump traffic laws. So get on my bike. And so she does. She gets on his bike and sits on his bike. And I thought, well, that's a cute way to end the third episode. Them going to school together on the bike. But then we have the closing credits for episode 3.
Well, okay, so they get to school on the bike, and then the next day the car's working fine. The cat's out of it, and she's driving to school, and she looks out and sees the friend and Yeti walking to school hand in hand, and it's just an adorable little thing.
It was a cute way to end episode 3.
And then
we have the closing credits.
The closing credits, which actually I am so glad that it was within the first 3 episodes, because I've seen this video
I've seen it too, just without the music.
No, what I've seen is this dance goes with everything. So it's just that same dance just being cut with other songs.
I had my own music going on in my head while I was watching it the first time.
Yeah. But no, yeah, we got to see what is absolutely going to be the next anime convention thing to do, is memorize this song and perform it.
Yeah, and
I mean, they did it with Lucky Star, they did it with Haruhi, and they're going to do it with this.
The thing is, with those ones, it's a multi-person dance, so multiple people could do it.
Sure.
This one just is Chica, and it's great. It's wonderful, and it's totally a thing that Chica would do. It starts off with her laying on top of the desk of the student body president, and then she just jumps up and starts dancing to this song. At the very end of it, she releases a cicada into outside the window. But it's super adorable. Anyway, that's the first 3 episodes,
and it's a single continuous shot. So
someone could very well do it, but it would be what I'm saying is it would be a solo number instead of a group number.
Conceivably, yes.
All right. So that's the first 3 episodes. What are your final thoughts about Kaguya-sama: Love is War?
I think it's adorable. I'm looking forward to continue watching it this season.
I can't wait to keep watching it. I especially want to see that volleyball bit.
Yes.
I raised him. He's your son? Are you his mom?
Oh, Chica. Chica's the best part of that whole show.
I can't wait to see what it is that Kaguya does that sets Miyuki off to want to learn volleyball.
In fact, Chica is so amazing that I was very surprised that the cover art, the poster art for the show, didn't feature her. So I was wondering, is this the right show that I'm about to start? Because there's no pink-haired girl on the cover.
It includes her on my anime list. If you go to my anime list, it shows It shows Miyuki and Kaguya.
Yeah.
And then behind them, having drawn a heart with like a laser or something behind them, it's Chica.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be there on my anime list. But yeah, I can't wait to watch more. The show's totally up my alley. It's freaking adorable, and I love it. All right, so what are we going to watch for next week?
All right, so here, real quick. What I'm saying is, when I went to Verve, this is what the poster looked like.
Yeah, that's what the poster looks like on Crunchyroll as well. I saw that, but let me go ahead and pull it up on my anime list, and I'll show it to you while you're talking about, after you talk about what we're going to be watching for next time.
Okay. Yeah, this cover actually makes me think of a wholly different anime. What was that? Another rich academy where a lot of gambling going on.
Oh yeah. Okay. You're not wrong.
Yeah. All right. So next week we are going to watch Mobile Suit Gundam Seed.
And then there's the guy in the back who we haven't quite met yet, but he's been in the credits before.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and he has like what, headphones on?
Yeah, he's got headphones on.
Yeah. And they look like a very particular kind of headphones. They look like utility, like
Yeah.
like a sound expert headphones, not just not just you're chilling out listening to music, but you're somebody who actually needs to hear high quality audio professionally.
Yes. But anyways, what are we watching next time?
Next week we're watching Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. The description reads: In Cosmic Era 70, the tensions mounted between the Earth Alliance and the Zaft forces, caused by the Bloody Valentine tragedy, have erupted into an all-out war. The Earth Alliance's mobile armor forces and tanks launch. Mobile suits are destroyed one after another. It seemed a foregone conclusion that the Earth Alliance, with its superior numbers, would be victorious. But this initial assessment proved to be false. Almost 11 months had passed since the conflict began, with no end in sight.
Awesome. So we're going back a couple of decades. This was early 2000s type thing when Mobile Suit Gundam Seed came out. Sorry, real fast. I'm super excited. This summer, the Dr. Stone anime is going to be airing.
Really?
Dr. Stone is a future Stone Age. Something hit humanity and turned everybody into statues. The only people who survived are the descendants of astronauts who were in space when the calamity attacked. But their survivors are stonemen, or cavemen, pretty much. Well, people are starting to wake up now, and the main character is a genius scientist who is starting to bring things back. But the thing is, the first arc's huge clash is between someone who wants to have the strength of man rule the world as opposed to the strength of science ruling the world. It's really, really good. It's a very, very fun manga.
So when's the anime coming out?
Summer 2019. So
all right,
it's this summer.
So once 3 episodes come out, maybe that'll be on our list of things to watch.
Sorry. The only reason I discovered it is because the same guy who voices
the narrator?
The same guy who voices Miyuki is going to be doing the main character in Dr. Stone.
Oh, nice.
Oh no! He's not going to be the main character. He's going to be a friend of his.
Okay.
He's going to be a close friend of his. Anyway, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay, so yeah, I'm really excited. Like, Gundam Seed is just one of those animes I never watch. You know, I know our younger sisters adored it, but I never really got into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's it for 3 episodes in.
Yes. Now that was just something else. I want to say it was some history of anime that I was watching. I don't remember if it was a Giga Anime Zone production or Mother's Basement or something else. But they talked about how the Gundam series was the first time, like prior to Gundam, there had been giant robot anime before, but Gundam was the first series where giant robots on both sides of the conflict were human piloted. And so so it was like before it was, with Voltron or things of that nature, you had kaiju or giant monsters or something else, aliens. Even with Robotech, you were fighting aliens, and it was humans versus aliens. Gundam, it was the first time it was humans versus humans, and it was a commentary on war, but with giant mechs.
That sounds like Giga. That sounds like Giga, but I could be wrong. Anyways, so that's it for 3 episodes in.
Right.
Now it's time for recommendation of the week, and it's my turn this time.
It is.
And I have been playing the crap out of this game that I'm going to go ahead and recommend. It is called My Time at Portia, or Portia, however you want to go ahead and pronounce it. Playframe has a couple of episodes where they started playing it.
Okay.
It takes place several hundred years after the world has ended and humanity has been rebuilding. Imagine, if you will, Harvest Moon meets Animal Crossing. You are what is called a builder. And people in the town, rather than you growing crops, what you do is you gather materials and you use those materials to build things to help improve the quality of life of the town you're living in.
Okay.
At one point, the town builds an expansion, and in that expansion, they need power. So you build 3 giant wind turbines or wind generators to help that are spinning in the desert because there's a constant breeze over there, so it can power the nearby town. I just barely finished getting everything I needed to build a massive bridge to go and dive into some ancient world ruins to go find an ancient AI technology thing. But you you gain or you build friendships and relationships with the townspeople. You can get married. You can do all this kind of fun, wonderful stuff. It's a very, very fun game, and unfortunately, it has the same issue that I have with most Skyrim or Bethesda RPGs, an issue that I like to call one more quest syndrome. Where you're just like, oh, just one more quest, it's fine. Like I'll be done, and it will take me 10 minutes to do this quest. Oh, one more quest. Oh, it's fine. I'll do this. I'll just do this. I'll just do this.
3 hours
suddenly
later,
it's 5 a.m. So yeah. Anyways, it's $30 on Steam. It's also coming out for the Switch and I think the PS4 and Xbox One. I could be wrong.
okay,
But I do know that it is out for Steam right now, and I also know it's coming to the Switch.
okay.
But yeah, that's it for recommendation of the week. I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful game. And now it's your turn. It's creator shout out for the week.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do a repeat creator shout out. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to the creators of Extra Credits, and a special shout out to their newest series. They're releasing season 3 of Extra Sci-Fi this year, and the newest sequence of episodes, they're delving into Frank Herbert's Dune.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing a deep dive of how that's being taken care of, and how that. It's just a very interesting take on how it's all coming together. Something they were mentioning about Dune that they're not wrong. It's just that how Frank Herbert created a world, or a world where certain people became hyper specialized in certain techniques, but still managed to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And how every single person in Dune is actually wrong about something.
Mm-hmm.
The Bene Gesserit are wrong about being able to create the Kwisatz Haderach and win, and being able to control it. The Mentats are wrong in their calculations because they make complex logical leaps without checking their original assessments. So Piter makes mistakes, Thufir makes mistakes. Jessica's wrong about Yui because their assumptions are wrong. And just that didn't matter how, like, what would happen in a world where people became superhuman and were still wrong about things. Which it's interesting to deconstruct it that way, and I'm wondering, because they are doing a Dune remake. They're doing another Dune movie, and it's going to be helmed by the guy who directed Arrival, which was absolutely amazing, and so I'm looking forward to it. And then you showed me a cast list, and I don't know if it was a dream cast list or if it's
it's
announcements.
I'm pretty sure that cast list is straight from IMDb. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but sometimes IMDb just reports on rumors, or people can put rumors.
Yeah,
on
I
IMDb.
guess that's true.
And so it isn't necessarily 100% confirmed, but boy, what a cast if it's true. But the creator shout out goes to Extra Credits, specifically this season of Extra Sci-Fi, and we'll go ahead and put a link to their YouTube and other accounts on WhitakerWeekly.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Hold on just a moment. I already closed the script. Okay, here we go. Yep, I closed the script on accident. Okay, well, thanks so much for listening in this week. If you're listening on YouTube, please feel free to like this episode and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. If you like what we do and want to support us, please spread the word of our podcast, or even support us on Patreon. Where can they find us on social media?
Our site, WhitakerWeekly.com, currently has the links to our Facebook page, Twitter account, Patreon page, and YouTube channel. We encourage all our listeners to follow us on the social media platform of their preference, and if there's one we're not on yet, please reach out to us on one of the ones we've mentioned, and we'll broaden our scope to include you.
Okay, well, I want to give a shout out to Ben Coombs for providing our artwork for us.
And another shout out to Brasmataz for their song Dry Clock, which we use for our opening and closers.
All right, well, that's another week. I've been Andrew.
I've been Lee.
And this has been Whittaker Weekly. You guys have a great week.